Time being 7 o'clock, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Thank you. First, we have the traditional territory acknowledgement, followed by a moment of silence. Council, the Township of Red Rock hereby acknowledges that we are on the traditional territory of the Robinson Superior Treaty and that the land we gather on is home to the Red Rock Indian Band, the Anishinaabe, and the Métis people. Administration advises that there's no new additions to the agenda. Do any members of council wish to make any amendments to the agenda? Okay, seeing none. Can I have a mover and seconder for motion to approve the agenda as presented? Councillor Tedesco. Councillor McDonald. All in favor? I see Gord. Gord is via Zoom, so all hands are rising, motion is carried. Okay, are there any declarations of interest to disclose? Okay, seeing none. Okay, tonight we have Eric from McSweeney and Associates here to present the RV park study. Welcome, Eric. So just press your button and then everybody.
That's better. Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor and Council. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm quite excited actually to present this business case to you and to answer any questions you might have. Presentation is coming up. So some of the topics we're going to cover this evening is basically a very brief summary of the report. And we'll talk very briefly about the goals and objectives. Mark, and next slide, please. Market and location analysis, the campground design, marketing strategy, recommended business model, and the next steps and our conclusions. I'd like to note that with respect to the market and location analysis and marketing strategy, we have more complete documents. What you have in the report, we brought it down so you'd have around a 50-page report versus a 100-page report. So if you're interested in more details on either of those two topics, the market and location analysis itself is about, I think it's close to 50 pages. So there's a lot more detail. We've condensed it down. So with respect to goals and objectives, the goal of this project was really to determine the financial viability of this project and to determine the business model that would work best for Red Rock in should you proceed with the project. The objectives of why you would want to do this, two of them are, there's more in there in the report, obviously increase the amount of visitation to Red Rock. That would support local businesses, drive some local economic impact, and to support the marina and the interpretive center. The focus is obviously to improve the or expand the amount of RV camping and campsites in Northern Ontario, particularly on this side. Market and location analysis. So next slide. So we in terms of the market and location analysis, this was quite a substantive report. It's boiled down to a few slides here. So we looked at supply and demand related trends, and that was really key. So how much supply is there in the area and how much demand is there in the area? Because if there's not enough demand, then your project is not going to work. We looked at RV owner demographics. We looked at the location of the proposed campground as a potential site. And we provided recommendations on what the market focus of this proposed campground should be. Next. The key findings. Demographics and a number of other factors support the fact that there will be strong current demand. The demand has been growing in the last several years despite COVID, and it will continue to grow in the future. RV purchases have been rising. If you pass by any of the the dealers in Thunder Bay, you'll notice that the lots are rather thin. And most RV dealers across Ontario that I've seen, they've got their trailers or their RVs spaced way out to make it look like they have a lot of stock, but they really don't. Sales have been very strong. RV purchase and use has been rising considerably in the last 2 to 3 years. So this is driving both local demand or regional demand, as well as a national and provincial. It's also true in the US. A proposed campground is well located and is supported by local assets that some campers are looking for, and is blessed with a number of natural amenities. Our recommended focus, which we'll talk a little bit more about, is the overnight RV camper versus the seasonal camper. Most of the local campgrounds are targeting because they want to minimize staff, and their operations are better suited to seasonal campgrounds where a person leases a site for the entire season. The province also does this to a certain extent, and the revenue is roughly 50% of the daily rate on a basis. However, the economic impact of seasonal campers is substantially lower, particularly in a location like this, than it would be from transient users or overnight users. Next, please. Ontario and Quebec have the highest visitation of recreational campers and RVs. So a lot of visitation, a lot of tourism in Ontario and Quebec. Ontario has 8 campgrounds per 100,000 population compared to Canada's 11 and in Quebec's 10. And it has 1,036 sites per 100,000 population versus Canada's 1,100 and Quebec's 1,338. So if we looked at the population of Ontario alone, the market is underserved by roughly 500 campgrounds or 10,000 campsites. That does not include the fact that we have visitation, a lot of visitation from outside of the province, just looking at it strictly on a population basis. So the market is underserved. Next, please. In terms of campground design, we took a look at the hatch work and the designs before that and looked at how can you create a conceptual design as more efficient in terms of its use. If you're going to, there's a certain number of facilities that are a necessary component to support what goes on. So you're going to invest in infrastructure. You're going to have a comfort station with washroom, showers, washer, dryer, etc. If you only have 10 campsites and you have that big building, it's very expensive. And that cost will never be recovered out of the campsite fees. So the scale typically in private sector campgrounds is 150 spaces or sites and up, okay? In order to amortize that cost of those common facilities over a large number of campsites so that the revenue is sufficient to support that capital cost or that capital investment. So the conceptual design we came up with could be built in 2 phases. I would personally recommend do it all in one if it's at all possible or financially viable to do that. So the conceptual site that we come up with, or the design that we come up with, was 90 RV sites and 19 tent sites or ultralight trailer sites for a total of 109 sites. We were not squeezing it in. In fact, with respect to the 19 sites, that area could easily be 25 or 26 sites, and you could probably squeeze a few more RV sites in, but the mandate that we were given was make sure that there's sufficient space. So we design large sites. Now, we're not campsite designers. You will need to engage a campsite designer because I'm a camper myself, have been for many years, and it's unbelievable how many poorly designed campsites there are, and it actually costs you money in the end. So for a very small investment up front, it's very worthwhile getting a really good design. Next, please. So some of the key considerations, the areas, host of an award-winning marina, so that it can't interfere with those operations. It can't impact the users of the marina. We want to make sure that parking is accommodated so that parking can be accommodated for both uses. There's the possibility of a phased approach should funding not be available to build the entire park in one shot. And sites must be perceived as high quality. So I think we've decided on a niche that you could serve that is not being served by the private sector. And in fact, it's not really being served in the market at all. The nature of RVing has changed substantially in the last several years, and the size of RVs has grown substantially. In fact, many RVs don't go to provincial parks unless you're willing to incur substantial damage to your RV, because many RVs are higher, have longer turn radiuses, and they simply, I've meant to take pictures of scrape marks on trees in several of the campsites I've been to in provincial parks. But you can see the scarring on the trees yourself from vehicles that have hit the trees. And I've heard lots of crunches of air conditioning units getting caught in low overhanging branches. Next, please. So the design, this is, again, it's one potential design. So the prime sites are really on the waterfront. So those are the larger sites. They would be roughly 65 feet in length and a little bit wider than the rest, for which you can charge a premium. And we think that you can charge the same rate as the top tier KOA rate, which is currently $95 a night. So you would have throughway services on all of those blocks for RV sites. So that's water, sewer, and electrical. So those are highly desirable, and most campers will pay the extra few bucks a night to have full services. The tent area and ultralight tent trailer campground area would have electric and 5-volt charging stations. There's a comfort station you can see in the pink block where the washrooms would be, washer, dryer, a dish cleaning facility, a transformer station for the entire park would be there. And the dump station would be on the way out with a pump station there, sewage pumping station, which I think if it's designed correctly could serve to solve some of the issues with this building. Just put it out there into the building. Look at it outside. One thing you see an expanded children's play area and then a fitness area just beyond that. The two markets we're recommending are, I'll get into it later, but one of them is for families. What's really important to families spend their time at the campground. The casual campers are older adults, guys like myself. We're off doing other things on the water, on the trails, etc. But families they spend a lot of their time in the campsite or on the campground. So they want water access. So the beach is really important. And you need to have improved children's play area and water splash pad. So what you have is, I would say, minimal. And I know there's an insurance issue, but the revenues you would generate from families through campsite fees will pay for the insurance and any structures that you build. So it's really critical if you want to attract families, and that's a large part of your target audience, you really need to improve these facilities, which residents could also benefit from. Next. Marketing strategy. Marketing strategy was really developed to try and lever what you have in terms of the economic climate that's supporting, camping and your natural location and beauty on the lake. So the strategy helped identify target markets and the strategies to try and reach those clients. And we conducted an analysis, which we call SCORE, that points out some of the advantages, potential risks, and other factors you need to consider. Next. So Red Rock has a significant number of natural amenities and community assets for those casual campers or the 55 plus crowd to partake in. There'll also be a need for ample signage along the highway because a critical location factor for campsites is visibility from the highway. So you do not have visibility from the highway, you will need to compensate with really good signage and large signage, frequent signage. In fact, I would be putting some on the other side of the split north of Thunder Bay before people make a decision. So a sign that says Red Rock Marina and Campground, 1 hour east of Thunder Bay. All right, so they can make a decision in their mind that they want to go there. Generally, you're really well positioned and naturally endowed with assets that I've already mentioned. Next. The two demographics, the casual campers, typically 55 plus, couples generally, and family campers. They own 72% of all RVs, typically use larger RVs, particularly the casual campers are using larger RVs and motorhomes. So pull-through sites are ideal. My observation is that no campers have improved their driving skills. And I still see lots of bumps and scrapes, particularly in provincial parks. And as the RVs grow, the driving skills don't necessarily increase. And some of the turning radiuses are really horrendous to try and back into. And signs and stumps cut off this high in a provincial. You know, when you're in a truck, you don't see it. It's below your hood level. So pull-through sites are ideal. And just by the fact that you have them, you will attract campers, because people will go where it's easy. So that's a, now it's more costly to develop, okay? But you should also be charging a premium because they cost more to operate or to build. So the needs are different of those two campers, as I mentioned. And I talked about the two differences between them. So the target for this is on an average of 2 nights versus seasonal campers. So transient campers, overnight campers, typically staying 1 or 2 nights. If you have sufficient activities, they'll arrive in the afternoon, evening, relax, next day, explore, leave the following morning. So that would be a typical, that's what you would want to achieve. You want them to stay a day to enjoy, spend money, leave the following day. July and August, we expect that you could hit an 85% occupancy rate of all your sites. And the shoulder season being May, June, September, October, 20%. So Sleeping Giant, well, data for 2021 has not been released yet. For 2020, Sleeping Giant was at 95 or 96% occupancy in July, August. Rainbow Falls was 80%. So we anticipate that you should be able to hit 85% after your first year of full year of operation, and you there's good market awareness of your location. And in the shoulder season, you should be able to hit 20%, which is what the provincial parks are doing as well. So that's what we estimate. Next. Some of the strengths, your proximity to Thunder Bay. If worst came to worst, you can depend just on campers from Thunder Bay. Transient, overnight, weekends, whatever. If things got really bad, if you were really desperate, you could do seasonal. And you'd have enough seasonal campers Thunder Bay to take all of your spots. The waiting list at local campgrounds, private sector, is years long. So you've got a really good financial backstop, right? There's no question about this from the financial revenue point of view at all, okay? So there are lots of options for you to maximize the revenue in this project. The challenges: lack of highway visibility, any reliance on external capital funding. Opportunities: you get to design from scratch what this park looks like, whereas many people already have a campground. It was designed for camping of the past, not necessarily meeting today's needs, therefore requiring a reinvestment, which is much more difficult to do. You're doing it, do it right from the beginning. Aspirations: increase the amount of visitation to Red Rock and continue to revitalize the waterfront and bring in more people into Red Rock. As a community once worked with, their slogan used to be, come for a visit and stay for the lifestyle. Hopefully, people will stay for the lifestyle after visiting Red Rock. Results will be a proposed campground that meets all of the objectives that you have for it. Financial analysis. Next. So we prepared a spreadsheet model where you can essentially play with any of the variables. So as your park develops or you get costs more refined, you simply enter in the numbers and it recalculates the revenue statement. We also prepared a statement of potential community impact and the resulting job creation that was developed. The findings were then used to look at, okay, what business model would work best with this kind of a project. Next. Okay, sorry. So the key findings. If you have senior government funding of a substantial portion of the capital costs, the project works. No question about it. In fact, if they fund it at 90%, which is typical, it actually generates a decent profit or surplus, I should say. In terms of sensitivity, wanting to know, well, how close are we to, not making money or being on the hook here? One of the ways you can look at that is reduction in revenue. You can say we're not going to achieve that revenue fee structure that we suggested for the sites, or we don't get the full occupancy rate that we're hoping for. So any number of things can happen on the revenue side. So if you were to at 90% government share and 10% municipal share, and you borrow the money at 3.5% over 10 years, the break-even point is if you only get 31% of all revenues we currently anticipate you would on full operation. So that's pretty low number. If it's phase one developed only, like a part of the site, that number is 40%. So this is about as safe a project as you're going to get. And I guess I've been doing them for a long time. I worked for a municipality for 24 years and I've been consulting 22 or 23 years now. And I'm pleased to say that this project and one other project that I worked on last year are two projects that gave me the highest confidence level on any project I ever worked on, that this is effectively a no-brainer. Okay. If there is no senior government funding and you have to borrow all of the costs, it doesn't work. Okay. And this may be the answer. This would be, or is the answer why we don't see the private sector doing what you're proposing to do. There's not a lot of money in it if you have to borrow the money to do it. Okay. Otherwise, we know there's a shortage of campgrounds, shortage of campsites. Demand is very strong. KOA can charge $95 a night for the top sites. There's something that's not happening here. And there's not that much money in it, but if you have some funding on the capital cost, then it gets you over a hump and reduces your operating cost because of the amortization costs of constructing it. The community economic impact, camper spending locally could be up to $1 million per year. So that's based on expenditure patterns of campers. And these are transient campers, not seasonal campers. So this is assuming transient campers or overnight campers, up to $1 million per year. And that assumes that you, the municipality, and the businesses here do everything possible to capture those dollars. Those are the dollars that typically be spent. If they don't walk through the door, they're going to walk through somebody else's door. So that's the potential economic impact locally, which could support within that up to 5 jobs equivalent. Next. Business model. Next slide. So 4 major models, and I have some experience with this, both as with my municipal employer way back. I was a director of alternative service delivery for a major municipality, and also did some private sector consulting afterwards with KPMG and training in alternative service delivery, particularly for municipalities. So I know and have worked these kind of structures before. So the first one, private sector designs, builds, owns, and operates and maintains. So you give the whole thing to the private sector, say, you do it, we don't want to have anything to do with it. That's one option. The next option is they design, build, and operate it, but you own it and you do the life cycle maintenance of it, not the day-to-day life cycle maintenance. Third option is the municipality designs, builds, owns, and maintains it with a service contract for operation to the private sector. And the fourth one is you do it all. And the only thing the private sector is involved in is the actual construction, which is contracted. And that is the recommended model. Yeah, we can, I guess I can take any questions on it, but essentially there are efficiencies to be had through integration of the marina operations, campground operations. The first two models largely get eliminated because unless you're prepared to lease or subordinate the title of your land to the private sector, they're not going to be able to finance, and no one's coming with $5 million in their pocket to invest on your land. So that sort of eliminates the first two pretty easily. The third one certainly would work, but I think after a few years of operation, once you have fully integrated the operation of the interpretive center, the marina, and the campground, and you know exactly how it operates, then you'll be in a position to contract that out. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, you're a good follower. So the overview. The next steps, receive this business case and accept it, make any adjustments that you see fit to the assumptions that have been made, review and discuss the business case with the funding authorities and make applications for funding. And then we have a series of other steps that are following that, but essentially it involves designing and engineering before you tender for construction. Next. Do I have another one? Conclusions? So the analysis concluded that more than sufficient demand exists. You could build it full, you could build two of them, and it would still be successful. So you could be successful with 200 sites, not just 119 sites. The preliminary campground design has given you 90 plus 19, could be built in one phase or in two phases. And the marketing strategy tells you how you can take advantage of this market and attract campers to the site. And you've got a great location to attract campers. Next. The financial analysis indicates that if you have sufficient government funding, financial viability is a certainty, unless you put a lock on it and don't let anybody in. The potential community impact is $1 million a year, generating 5 jobs. And the municipal design, build, own, operate model offers you the greatest chance for success and control to meet municipal objectives and community objectives in the short term. Longer term, you can consider contracting out the operations at a later point in time. And I think that's it. Anything else? No. Questions?
Are there any questions, Council? Councillor Tedesco?
You mentioned that the percentage of seasonal versus, say, day trippers. What's the percentage that's most financially viable for such a project? The seasonal people, or?
I didn't actually calculate that, but I could do it fairly quickly, and I'll get back to you through staff, through Ashley. I'll calculate the numbers if you did it on seasonal. I believe that doing a transient camper, it will put you further ahead, but I have to do the calculation just to be sure.
Yeah, generally, that's what I was hoping to know.
Yeah, because you could lease out 100% of the sites, at 50% of the daily revenue. So I need to do the calculation of number of days versus we've calculated 85% occupancy for 61 days and 20% occupancy for the remaining days in the shoulder seasons. So I just have to run that calculation and we'll get back to you through Ashley if that's okay.
Also, I think that from your wonderful report, by the way, absolutely wonderful.
Thank you.
I think the whole thing of just doing a single phase production right off the top would be the wisest thing because you've got everything there. Might as well do the whole thing. Right? Is this what you're?
No, I would favor you doing it all in one phase, complete.
Yeah, that's what.
If you can get the funding to do it, do it. No one ever built half a McDonald's. Right? Build it and they will come.
What about marketing? Do you provide sort of like some?
There's a marketing report that tells you exactly how to do that. Yes.
And what do you see for a full season of operation? Do you see it from say May to December?
Yeah, right after Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Okay.
So any possible employment would be seasonal employment.
Seasonal, but we calculate full-time equivalent. When we say number of jobs, 5, that's full-time equivalent jobs. And that's not just in the campsite, but in the community as well. Should you capture all of the economic impact that those campers would generate.
Good, thank you.
Welcome.
Councillor Muir.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay, no feedback. So, yeah, I was just wondering, Mr. McSweeney, if you had a financial analysis available for us to look at, just with construction costs, startup costs, and what percentage we'd need for funding to be able to proceed.
I didn't quite catch the question.
Oh, sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a bit better.
Okay, sorry. Yeah. No, I'm just wondering if you had finances, like financial analysis available for us to review with regard to how much capital we need to put in and what percentage of the government building costs.
Yes, in the appendix of the report, we attached screen caps, the financial model, the actual spreadsheet. Staff has a copy of it. Basically, full build out, if you do it in a single phase, is $5.2 million capital cost. And if you phase 1 cost, I think was around, just 1 second, 3.6. So if you do phase 1 only, it's 3.6 million, or the complete is 5.2. Those are estimates. I wouldn't take this to the bank, but they're good enough for making an application. The final cost will be determined once you've got an exact design. We budgeted $450,000 for the comfort station. Sounds like a lot. The province just spent in Sleeping Giant for a comfort station, 4-season use, however, so it's fully heated, $750,000. So that gives you an high upper range. You don't want to spend that much money, but again, these costs will need to be. These are the best that we could do at this point with this design, and I think this represents close to reality. There will be some costs will be up, higher or lower. Some costs are very difficult to get, but I think this is in the ballpark.
I consider our funding model, but they have a spreadsheet, so if we want to explore those different funding models, the percentage of whether it's.
Are there any other, Councillor McDonald?
Sorry, I just wanted to ask if the fitness area and the larger playground, are those prices included in? that 5.2?
Playground, yes, budget of 30,000. I don't recall entering a figure for the improved exercise area or the beach. Okay. I don't anticipate the exercise or fitness area to be a large ticket item.
Mhm.
But if you can afford more than 30,000, I would put more than 30,000 into the improved play area and fitness area.
Councillor Perk?
I just want to say that I think it's exciting to see, because I know it's something that's been on the radar and we've talked a lot about it. So it's nice to sort of get those pieces in place. We certainly all think that it's a great idea. We just need the funding behind so that we can move forward. So we have a superstar over there that's always working in in our best. So yeah, it's lots to think about for sure.
Any other comments? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much. Great report. And I don't think a lot of us that live around here understand the type of client that we're looking for, right? Because we buy $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 trailers to go in the bush, right? With generators and all that, and people don't want that anymore. They want services. They still want to have convenience to go to a store, be able to buy gas, go on the boat, like on the water right away. So that's the type of clientele we're looking for, and the report shows that obviously it's needed. We know that people aren't, you can't find, a spot to reside in. Like if you're traveling through, like it's pretty hard to get a spot. So it's great to hear. So I don't see any issues approving this report, but I'll go through the motion. Thank you very much. Okay, is there a mover and seconder for motion to accept the RV park and campground market focused business case from McSweeney and Associates? Councillor Park, Councillor Muir, all in favor? All hands rising, motion is carried. Okay, the open session minutes of the last regular meeting of council, March 21st, are at items 5.1 of the agenda. Are there any errors or omissions to note in the minutes? Seeing none, may I have a mover and seconder for motion to approve the open session minutes at 5.1? Councillor Park, Councillor McDonald. All in favor? All hands rising, motion is carried. Okay, the closed session minutes of the last regular meeting of council, March 21st, are at items 5.2 of the agenda. Are there any errors or omissions to note in the minutes? Okay, seeing none, may I have a mover and seconder for a motion to approve the closed session minutes at item 5.2? Councillor Tedesco. Councillor Muir. All in favor? All hands rising, motion is carried. Okay, first matter is item 6.1, a resolution brought back from the previous meeting. Do any members of council have any questions? Seeing none, is there a mover and seconder for motion to support the resolution from the Township of Woolwich regarding mental health supports? Councillor Tedesco, Councillor McDonald. All in favor? All hands rising, motion is carried. Okay, NOMA. 6.2 is information purposes only relating to the agenda of the NOMA annual meeting. Do any members of council have any questions? Okay, seeing none. AMO 2022 conference is information purposes only relating to the 2022 AMO conference. Any members of council have any questions? Okay, seeing none. Okay, DSAB, our minutes from the Thunder Bay District Social Services Administration Board. Meetings February 17th, 2022. Do members of council have any questions? Seeing none. Okay, item 8.1 is a report on administrative activities. Do any members of council have questions of Mr. Piglamini? Councillor Tedesco.
Mark, could you mention anything about your Red Rock Fish and Game Club restocking initiatives?
Yes, certainly. It's actually will come up later in the agenda for direction from council. So I did have a couple of meetings and I can summarize it at that point, or I can summarize it now and we can take that direction then. But basically what I have met with local representatives of the Fish and Game Club, as well as the chair of the Zona F, I believe it's FMZ 9. And so those meetings are happening and again, we'll address that in item 8.3.
And could you comment on the audit summary and next steps, the meeting, video?
Yeah, so the audit is ongoing. So they spent a week here in Red Rock about, I guess it was about 2 weeks ago now, 2 or 3 weeks ago now. So it's an ongoing process that we continue to work with BDO on today. It's going well. There's some challenges that we're still correcting from dating back to even 2020. So there is some issues that we're working our way through, but I can report that the audit is moving along well and things are really moving in the right direction. So I don't really have anything bad to report at this point, and it's optimistic that we'll see them back here very shortly, and hopefully at that some point in the very near future they'll be presenting a final audit or a final audit report to council. I mean, I'm not saying that's the right away, but we're on track for that to happen in the next few months, I would say.
Thank you.
Councillor Muir.
Hey, thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to thank Mark and Shelley for setting me up tonight on Zoom. I very much appreciate that. I really, really do. Thank you so much. I was also following up too on the PSD citywide compliance. How is that going? I know your list is long and you're extremely busy. I just wanted to see if you had any updates on that.
Yeah, definitely. So PSD citywide is going well. Again, we got a little bit of a late start with our asset management plan, but I believe we're scheduled for I believe it's next Thursday for what we work with them in is usually weekly updates and then monthly workshops. The workshops usually take about 3 or 4 hours in the afternoon. So we're very close. The compliance piece, the initial compliance piece, I believe is July of 2022. So we need to meet that compliance piece, which we're on target to do. So I believe our next workshop, as I said, is this upcoming Thursday, not this Thursday, but the following Thursday, which is scheduled to be our last workshop. At which point then we will hopefully, it will come to council for approval, for review and then approval. But it's an interesting concept. It's a lot to take in to see how this project is actually going to unfold. But again, it's going very well considering we came to the plate many months late in it, and we've been able to condense it into a project that's on target and on time to be compliant here in July of 2022. So again, it will hit the council table probably within the next couple of months for review.
Any other questions? No, seeing none. Is there a mover and seconder for a motion to receive the report? Councillor Park, Councillor McDonald. All in favor? All hands rising, motion is carried. Okay, 8.2, a report from the website RFP recommendation. Do members of council have any questions? Maybe Ashley, you could come just in case. Councillor McDonald.
Just a quick one. Was this 100% covered again? Okay, that's it.
Yes, this was a 100% funded project.
Any other questions? Well, I know you probably have one, that's why.
Pretty weak to the computer end of it, so.
Okay. Maybe you can just give us a quick overview of what this entails, because it just says online service review. Now, does that mean it's going to change the website? It's going to improve it, going to update it, any of that stuff? Or is it just what we need to do to fix it?
So this is essentially a review of all our website as well as any online service offerings that the community officers offers, such as paying for permits, space rental, membership fees, anything like that. So what this does is it kind of looks at where Red Rock is compared to other municipalities as well and what they're offering online. And then what we can do to kind of reach and better serve the residents of Red Rock. So for those who are working during municipal opening hours, they may not be able to go out and get a fire permit, a dog license, a gym membership, et cetera. So this would then streamline a lot of those processes online, making them available. Part of this would also, it would essentially do an assessment and then provide the recommendation of what Red Rock needs to do to up its game essentially online. And we would then be able to take those recommendations and that game plan and then get funding to implement it. So the way funding works for almost anything right now is you need the assessment and review and recommendations as one thing, and then you present that document to get your funding to implement it. So this is that assessment review piece with the recommendations for anything we can do online to better serve the residents and our internal processes.
Councillor Tedesco.
How would that all play out? How would it look like when it's finally in place? I'm thinking of how do the townspeople, how would they be able to approach this once approval and funding and everything happen? Would it be like nice, simple steps to go from point A to point B?
Yep. So essentially what this review does, there is the community consultation piece that goes along with it as well to find out what the residents actually want. So we may think, yes, to be able to purchase your gym membership online is something that the residents want, but the community consultation piece will actually say, yes, this is what we want. Or what type of information do the residents want available on the website? What so a section for investors, a section for residents, a section for visitors, a section for council and all of our municipal policies kind of thing. So there will be, based on that community consultation piece as well, what the residents want. And this report that will be submitted will tell us, okay, to have a website that meets the needs of your residents, as well as all of these other audiences, these are the things you need to have: a community calendar, a permits page, investments page, et cetera, business listings, that kind of thing. So it will lay out exactly what we need and the type of computer lingo kind of widgets and different type of apps or components on the website that will be able to meet those needs. So if it's a link to Google Maps, so they can get a map of the town of where everything's located, that will all be identified in this report.
So it sounds like as if it could be real time sort of a reduction of or pressure on, say, office staff and Mark, and because I'm sure you answer all sorts of questions that could be easily done through a computer system. Excellent, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? And I'm assuming that we're going to continue to look for future funding for the next phase.
Yes. So the
Because
way
we know our website needs a huge overhaul.
the way the programs are typically presented are they have a planning stage and an implementation page or a stage. So this is the planning stage of this funding program.
Just like the RV park, right? You need
Just
that
like- yeah.
Study with steps to get to the next stage.
You need the
It's
study that
all
says,
funding.
yeah. Study that says you need it and how to achieve it.
It's hurry up and wait, right?
Yes.
Basically how it is. Okay, is there a mover and seconder to accept the report and to award MNP Digital as a successful applicant to conduct the website and online service review as part of the approved municipal modernization fund in the amount of $47,350 plus HST? Councillor Park. Councillor Muir. All in favor? All hands rising, motion is carried. Thank you, Ashley. Okay, next item 8.3 is direction purposes related to the report on the Fish and Game Club restocking. Do members of council have any questions of Mr. Figlamini?
I'll jump in and answer Councillor Tedesco's or give a brief explanation of why we're bringing this back, because it was at the table discussed with council. But what we have found in meetings I've had with the chair of FMZ9 is a specific request from council, if that's where we want to go. So that's why we're bringing this for discussion, and then we'll bring a letter of support, if approved, back to the next council meeting. So generally what they're asking the Township of Red Rock to do, I mean, science and the government will dictate, the ministry will dictate whether they actually perform restocking. But what they're asking the Township of Red Rock to do, and our council, is to provide a general statement letter that says it will provide an economic benefit to the area. So that's really the ask that they want for us right now, supported by a resolution of council that will help at the table where the decisions are made. So really and truly, again, we're just looking to get direction to draw up that letter that says this will be an economic benefit for Red Rock. Present that by resolution at the meeting. They've also requested that we, if we wanted, have our community development officer attend that meeting. And I think that's a great idea as well, if that's how we want to go. So again, like everything else, it's a process. It's the right way. Process is the right way to get business done as far as I'm concerned. So again, that's all we're asking is for that direction.
Mark, it's good for us to get some economic benefits out of it, but perhaps the most important economic benefit is the social value that it creates for our community, so that average families can go out and catch some lake trout that we supposedly have a great reputation for, so kids can learn how to fish, so that it's just a good outing and all that sort of thing. And it also provides us an opportunity to develop that stewardship of the species and the lake and the area. So if that could be somehow included in this letter, that would be great, because it's not just economic stuff. It's great for a couple of guide people, but.
Well, and again, I'm bringing you the direction I was given to provide the letter based on economic growth or potential for the area. One reason to answer your question on that is that to say that you want to just provide locals to be able to fish is probably not what will generate enough discussion at the table. So it's a point, it's a good point taken, but it from the way I was directed to have this brought to the council or to the table within the council that makes the decisions is to start this way. Certainly not opposed to putting that as an additional piece. It does benefit the whole area, but I think we'll be able to draw up a pretty good letter representing what it does for the area and specifically the Township of Red Rock, both from an economic and a social benefit. So I think that will be something we'll be able to put together into a letter. Get that to council at the next meeting, supported by resolution. So I don't disagree, and I think it will be a good added to it. But
Are there any other questions or comments? So I believe that council is in full support of having the letter drawn up, right? Okay. So okay, moving on. 8.4 is a report on the declaration of interest form. Do members of council have any questions of Mr. Figlamini? So I would just like to know, is this new or has this been around for a long time? And it was just something that we just didn't follow. We just basically said it and didn't fill out
So
the paperwork.
So it isn't new. We met with both the deputy clerk and myself did our annual review with Municipal Affairs and Housing and our representative last week. You will see more coming in the next few meetings. We're trying to tackle each. So basically what you have is, I guess it's compared to a report card, right? So we are definitely behind on some of the policies that are needed to have a check mark beside them from Municipal Affairs and Housing and that state. So this was a rather easy one to get together. We just met with them, I believe it was Thursday. So this is one that was easy to get to you guys right away, but you will see more. Again, nothing that is too worrisome or bothersome. It's just some cleaning up of getting the Township of Red Rock compliant with Municipal Affairs and Housing and how we do business. They just a quick summary on the meeting. They're very impressed with where things are going internally right now, and staff in the office has done a fantastic job of getting these kind of documents ready. So they're very pleased with where we're heading. So, but yeah, you will see a few more things coming.
Okay. Is there a mover and seconder for motion to accept the form for council's declaration of interest? Councillor Tedesco. Councillor McDonald. All in favor? Hands rising, motion is carried. Okay, next item is 8.5 is a report on an adjustment to a tax account. Do members of council have any questions of Mr. Feklimini? Okay, is there a mover and seconder for a motion to make an adjustment to the tax account on roll number 5841-000-005-000000 in the amount of $952.24. Councillor Park. Councillor McDonald. All in favor? All hands rising, motion is carried. Okay, there are no new bylaws. There's no new business. 11.11.1 to 11.4 outstanding unfinished business items. The CAO has a verbal update. Any members of council have any questions after the update?
So I just thought we would touch on each individual unfinished business item. We'll start at 11.1 with what we've been working on internally as a recreation master plan with what we started with an application to NOHFC for community development and intern based on recreation. We were just as of last week successful in our application. So we will be funded for this position for a minimum of 1 year, hopefully with an extension beyond that. There is some possibility of extension. So we will be working probably as early as this week, if not early next week, once we find a little bit more information. But we've got some, I think it's pretty exciting news. We can bring in an intern to develop community programming. We see, and we talk internally of a lot of, for example, if you had a teen town program where you're having trouble having volunteers, this could kickstart that program. Could also partner with the Legion, for example, in senior programming, youth programming. This would be an all year, obviously a 52-week fully funded program. So we're excited about it. It's the start of I think where we can go recreation wise, and we're hoping to be able to bring excitement to the community and hit the youth, the senior population, try to put a full picture together. So this is the start. We're fully approved as of I believe it was Friday morning or Thursday morning we got the approval. So as soon as we get the next step, which we're expecting very shortly, we'll be putting a plan into place for putting that out for advertisement and a hiring process. So that's, I think, positive news. 11.2 is the business recognition program. Whitney's been working at that. The intake letters have went out. Intake hasn't been great, but we've got some back. So we're talking about putting another push on just to see, and then we can hopefully either work with what we have and or hopefully get some more intake just on the information we were asking. So we're still working on that. Recycling options for the community. I know I've met with Councillor McDonald on it as well. I've got some preliminary numbers. Of course, we're working through a budget process right now. That in that process, we'd like to have initial discussions with council probably as early as the next council meeting, we're hoping. So it kind of ties into all of that together. Recycling in a smaller community like Red Rock is a challenge. We're definitely not at the point I don't think to recommend making that decision at this point, but we have numbers and we can see where that goes once we work our way through that whole process. And finally, there was a lot of discussion prior about a town hall meeting. I think as we come out of COVID, I'm certainly open to options from council if that's still the will of council, that we can put something together based on everything we got going on. And right now we have a lot going on. So I think we would have to structure that meeting. But I think engaging the community in that type of a setting right now as we come out of COVID is probably something that we can do, and I'll take direction from council on if that's something we want to do. So I can take any questions that may arise. That's the end of the unfinished business report.
Any questions? Councillor Mayor?
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Thanks for the comments and everything there. I would like to see a town hall meeting, of course, and absolutely, you know, we could structure it accordingly. Absolutely, I know that with the strategic plan, and we've given people the voice to be heard, and that's exactly what we need to do is continue to do that and listen to what people want and what they want to see in the town. Right? We do share the town; it is our town, right? So that would be fantastic if we could do that in over the next little while.
Any other questions on Mark's report?
I just want to say I'm very excited for that rec center intern. I feel like it's a really, really great need for the community, and I have great hopes for that.
Yeah, so do we. We think it's, I mean, it's something we worked on. We did have an intern. We did have an approved intern in another department. We worked hard to lobby to have one go and one come, kind of say, as per se. So yeah, we're excited. I think if we find that I've seen success in other communities, and this new program with NOHFC, it opens up the parameters for the candidate a lot more than it used to. So it's an exciting program, and I guess if you find that right niche person to fill that role, I think it could be really exciting. I mean, I've watched other communities do it within the last month, and I mean, sometimes it's a simple program. It's bowling in the arena. It's just getting people out. It's getting people into your community center. It's beanbag toss. It could be simple things like that, building your community, but it also could be learn to skate program, or it could be so much, right? We're not sure exactly where that'll go yet, but it's definitely something to be excited about, I believe, so.
Okay, thank you. I guess it would be maybe up to administration to work on some dates for a town meeting. I don't know if it's set afternoon session, night session, or just one. So,
Yeah, we can put a plan together or some dates and throw them. But I think an evening session would, it serves everyone. Obviously, we have counselors that work as well. I mean, but I think it'd be an evening session. We can put an agenda together based on what we would like to discuss or what, and then it gives that open session or that open opportunity for the citizens of Red Rock to ask direct questions under a controlled environment. So, I mean, I think that's the key, but I've seen them where they're very successful and informative evenings, and sometimes the questions can get a little bit, sometimes, everybody, it's hard to keep everyone happy on everything, but I think it's important to engage the citizens. So, I mean, it's something I don't think we can run away from. I think it's a good thing, and you get that perspective of everyone. So we can put some dates together for sure.
okay, next is the confirming proceeding of council. Can I have a mover and seconder for motion to pass the bylaw? Councillor Park. Councillor McDonald. All in favor? All hands rising, motion is carried. Time being 8:06, motion, council meeting is closed. Meeting's over.